Hi and welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to go through how I was able to transform my driver rating from a mid-B, which I had for a long time, into an A-level driver. So you can see here that I'm sitting at the B. I've already done a lot of the work, and I figured for this content I would actually show the races where I achieved my A status. So just doing a little bit of practicing before the race. But really it all comes down to becoming an expert at one track and then race that track over and over, getting first, second, or third place finishes, and just do that, and that will continue to increase your DR. So in my case, I was stuck at about between 18,000 and 20,000 DR, which is lower to mid B rating. And basically, for the daily races, I would approach the races in a way that I would try all three races, and I would maybe do well. I would start with A and do sort of well with it and get a decent qualifying time, and then race and maybe finish middle of the pack, and sometimes do better, sometimes do worse. And then after a few days of that, I would graduate to B, and then on to C, and so on. So what that would do would make it so that I was competitive in the races, but I wasn't really overachieving. I wasn't becoming top 3 finishes in almost every race. And that's sort of what kept me into that B level. So this time, I decided to just focus on an A race because I could race several of those over and over. But just as soon as the daily race came out on, I believe it's Monday morning, I just practiced A. And just practiced it over and over. And this one was at Trial Mountain, and using a old car, not a real car, but it was based on a Ford, 1951 Ford. I think they called it Wicked. And I got my livery all created and just started going to town. And I looked at who the top drivers were, and they were in about the 207 and a half. But that's pretty unrealistic. So I basically go on YouTube and see folks who have been driving in the A class and seeing what their times were. And I found that they're typically 211, 211.5 for this particular race. And I just practiced over and over. Did it with Ghost turned on, and tried a couple races just to see what my competition would be in that B class. And over time I got better and better at it, to the point where I was basically qualifying with a 210.5, which would put me up to be able to start in the first or second position. And I believe other people are doing this as well, because a lot of the people that I saw in this race were the same, race over race. So here we go, getting ready for the race, and I think, as I showed before, I was very close to a rating at this point. I think I was something like 29,820, so I needed basically 200 points to get it. And this race definitely was not my best race. I think the first lap and the first turn, or I guess it'd be the third turn, I overshot and went on the grass and basically screwed up the race, but I was still able to increase driver points. So I'll let you watch this one. The thing I'm not sure about, though, is I was doing a race, so I had to do quite a few races, probably, 20 or 30 races, to go from 20,000 to 30,000, and 30,000 is the threshold to put you in the A DR category. But I'm not sure if it would have taken fewer races if I would have done a B race or a C race. From what I understand, it depends more on who the competition is in the race, and not so much as the A, B, or C. But I'm not sure about that. So if you know, please leave in the comments and let me know. So as you can see here, I qualified in second place. And as you can see, also Dirty Driver is in front of me, and he's pretty much in every time I walk into this lobby, he's there. So he's either trying to just increase his A+ rating, although I'm not sure how he does that because there's never any A+ drivers in this class, so I'm not sure, but he must be, or else he wouldn't keep doing it. I hope you appreciate, again, my livery. I love doing the liveries, and it makes it more fun to drive for me. Also, when you start in this race, very difficult for me because you're already at the high end and RPMs of Gear 1 when they start the race, so it's like you got to jump into second quick or, over rev. But I'm not sure if I should go to third here or not. So let me know in the comments if it'd be better to go to third gear, because I always notice that the person behind me is gaining on me, but I'm gaining on the person in front, so maybe it's just something else. So I did okay here, but then I got too excited here because I knew that that was a good first turn, but I overshot it here. So really bad. I couldn't have gone any worse. In fact, this was probably the worst of my 20 or 30 races. So I think I go all the way to the back. So I'm all the way in the back in 9th. Thankfully, most of the drivers here were fairly new C level drivers, or B. Lower B, so I knew that I would have a chance to catch up. And I could already tell what's going on in front of me. It shouldn't take too long. But this is not the easiest track to pass on. But when you do pass, it's usually a high-low type of event. And this is a very interesting corner here because it's interesting. Some drivers, it seems like the good ones go high into the turn and exit low, and some of them go in low and exit low. I'm not sure what the best way is. And I think it's different if you're in a competitive race, because if you go high, somebody could undercut you and then take out your low line, even if it is a slower path. So this is taking a little bit longer than I'd like, but these two are driving side by side, so it's just bound for something bad to happen here. But I don't want to get caught up in it, and I got caught up on that, but got a little lucky. Just escaped those two, and there's another disaster coming up ahead. And I really don't think they're doing this on purpose. They're just, you just struggle with controlling the car when you're newer to Gran Turismo. Another bad situation, coming in low, but somehow I kept that straight. And I think I got another, I should have gotten another penalty here. I don't know why I didn't, but this is just carnage. So again, I'm just trying to stay vertical here because I know that if I go sideways again, the race is over for me. So I think I may have nudged him a little bit here, but I thought I had the right of way. I created some space between me and the Summer of George here, so I was hoping that that would be it for him. And if Dasso, I think, screwed up that last corner, so I cut a break there. So I'm in fifth now, and I got an over second advantage over Summer of George. Now here, I'm thinking when I'm driving that in fifth place, I won't be able to get an increase in my DR. So I knew that I had to do a little bit more. So I was going to push here. Isn't it funny? So when I'm driving, just qualifying time or whatever, I know that I'll be able to get in the 211s pretty consistently. But when you're in a race, for some reason, there's just something that comes over me where I race differently, even when nobody's around. So I can't achieve the same times. So I have to get better at that. So I'm putting a little bit more distance between me and P6. But Naruse is in front of me here, and I've raced him a few times. He's a pretty good racer. I think I have a little bit on him at this track at least. And he is a little bit aggressive, I would say. But I don't think it's on purpose to try to put you out or anything like that. I guess what I'd say is when I'm doing qualifying, I know that I could just restart if I do something wrong. So that's probably why I'm a little bit more cautious and don't get the faster lap times during a race. Interested what you guys are thinking in terms of qualifying versus the race. I just love this track though with these older cars. Great combination. Okay, so I think Nuras here had a little bit more of a wide line in that last turn. So I'm going to catch him, I think, here. Or at least put the pressure on him. And that's another thing I've found as I've, over time is that sometimes it isn't necessary to make a risky pass, but just put pressure on like this. And sometimes that's enough to have them make a mistake. Like here, nope, actually that was a pretty good turn on his part. I guess because I already knew that I screwed up at the beginning of the race, for sure I'm being more cautious here. I know that if I just, drive decently, I should be able to pick up at least another spot. And I was thinking fourth would at least keep me even after I already messed up the race. And I'm not sure how bad it is to exit a race, but I think it's a lot worse than anything I could do in a race. So I could have hit the gas a lot earlier there, but again, don't want to hit the wall. And here we go again, just hoping to put pressure. Not sure, it looked like he was going to cut me off there, but he held it together here pretty well, actually. So he's a good driver. See, I probably didn't drive that right. I was thinking more about how to avoid if he crashes instead of how to, drive as fast as I can. But geez, just look at what's going on up there. Something's got to happen. They just can't keep that up. Here's the first opportunity for me. Beneficiary. But Sir Real Deal is actually a very fast driver. Very aggressive, very fast. I found that fighting too hard to maintain drafting is not beneficial. I don't know who's beeping here. I think it's that guy who just went by me. Surreal deal, I think. And how do you land the horn the entire time? It takes skill while you're driving. Okay, my bad on that one, I think. So I thought he was going to give me some payback, because again, he's pretty quick. And I was getting nervous here that he was going to take me out. Hey, this is 1950s. There's a little bit more bumping going on here, acceptable bumping. And luckily picked up another place there to get P3. And I don't know if I would have gotten a bump if it was P4 or not. Okay, P3, 20 seconds behind. Not good at all. Not good at all. I usually could do this race in like an 8:54, an 8:55. But as you can see, the field had pretty good amount of B drivers, which helps me with my ranking. Let's see how we did here. Okay, so you can see DR rating did go up, but it still says B. So I must not have gotten 200 credits for this race, and obviously it's because I finished third and the field wasn't that strong. So it would take at least one more race. So again, I'm not sure if, I've never seen I've seen videos where they talk about how to go from an E to an A+, like overnight or whatever, but I've never watched those. And I don't know why, I probably should. But this one for me, not being the best driver and not having a ton of time to spend playing or racing, for me this seemed to be the best way. Again, the strategy is just to focus. As soon as Monday comes, a new daily race comes out, focus on a track. For me, I picked the A races because I could do more of those over time, and my thinking is that'll allow the DR to go up faster, but I'm not 100% sure, because again, you may get more credit for a C race, but I think as long as your competition is decent, you can still go fast and move up the ranks fast. But I may try it the other way as I try to progress to A+, and maybe do more C races. I just had trouble sitting in a C race knowing that, my next half hour is kind of booked. So if you can see, this race, again, a lot of D and C, so not the best competition, but at least it's a full field, and we do have a few B drivers in here. And again, we got our friend Nuris in the race. And again, he puts a lot of pressure on me in this race, but hoping that after this race, I'll finally be an A driver. So I've been a B driver for maybe a year, a really long time. And again, sometimes I get closer to A, and sometimes I get closer to going back down to a C. But that's all based on, me spending, an hour maybe practicing at a track, going into a race and doing decent, but not great, and having some bad races, some good races, and basically just being average. And I'm still considering myself average, but this method allows you just to spend more energy on perfecting a track. Again, for me, perfection as a B driver is not great, but it's better than me kind of spreading my time over the 3 different races. So let's see what we can do here. And again, just a reminder, if you know the best way to start off this race and get the best jump, I jump right into second gear on this one, but I'm just wondering if others go into third. My braking point is right at the yellow barrier on the right. I try to cut this as much as I can and swing it back. And I think I cut this too. I don't know. Some people take a wider line there. Similarly here, some people take a wider line. But I found that when I take the wider line in the race, some people try to undercut me and, you know, basically dive bomb. So I try to keep that line. And that last exit was the most difficult to maintain control on the gas. That last turn, I try to keep it on the right side of the track. And that last turn, try to keep it straight off into the tunnel. Obviously, the more you have to turn, the more you're slipping and sliding, the more you're out of control. So you can see as Neris is gaining on me. He's very good at that last turn and entering into the tunnel. See? So he just went underneath me there. That's why I was saying that sometimes, you know, when you're in qualifying, the faster line is the high in, low out. But when you're in a race, you know, somebody undercuts you. They're not really doing a dive bomb, but you know, they just put you in a position where you can't come back down in your lower lane. So here I kind of did something similar to him on this turn, and I think that was a pretty clean pass. And usually I can't do these types of things. But again, when you just focus on one race, which I have been, today is Friday, I started on Monday, you get really good at this stuff. Again, all relative. For me, good is probably not what you or an A or an A plus rated driver would think is good. See, again, he tries to dive bomb me in there. He did lay off on the gas. I just think that that's a line where he knows he can pass, and he's going to do it again here. Very fast driver, very fast driver. And I think I just gave him a nudge there. And yeah, that wasn't good, but I definitely let him come back. But he held it together really good. He's definitely a good driver. Hats off, hats off. And this is all trying to apply pressure to try to get him to make a mistake, and he almost did, but he kept it pretty good. See, and he's usually really quick out of this turn and not as quick as he had been. So again, here, you know, you have a little bit of a benefit of a draft, and I probably could have went around, but I decided to do a little bump draft and then pretend like I was going inside, but I don't think I was actually going to. I was going to lay off here. Oh, no, I actually did. See, and there's no way that he can come back down. So I basically took his line away. That's what he did to me, I believe, on the last lap. I just love this track. So I'm definitely a lot gentler on the throttle here than I would be if I was practicing. So I guess I answered my own question about why qualifying or practicing is different than a race. And geez, love any tips on my driving here. Just any advice, you know, braking too early, braking too late, not turning at the apex, anything would be helpful. Did help me on my journey to be an A+ driver. Didn't do so hot here, but again, swing it back around and you can kind of make up the difference. As you can see, he's right behind me. And he did that again. See that? But again, he's definitely not trying to hit me. He stayed real close in that turn. He's always peeking on the inside, and that definitely makes me jittery. So it's definitely a good tactic if that's what he's trying to do. See, on that turn, I like to stay inside. I don't like being on the outside. Okay, he definitely lost it a little bit there, so I definitely gained a lot on the straight here. He was too far behind there to go under. And I definitely drive better when there's no pressure. It's funny, when I watch myself drive, I just notice all the mistakes that I didn't notice when I was driving. Definitely putting a little bit more distance here. Again, if I can get like 7-8 tenths away from the driver behind me, I'm a much better driver. So if you see me in front of you, that's how you can get me to make a mistake or not drive as fast. Just put pressure on me. See, my times here are not very good at all. It's because I have somebody near me. I got to get better at that. And for this tunnel, when do you guys usually drop it into fifth? I see some people doing it earlier, some people doing it later. So I think at this point I was only about 20 or 30 points away from an A rating. I'm definitely being more careful here, because I know I have third locked up unless I make a mistake. Okay, there you have it. The last lap was like a 12.9, which was more of what I do in the races. Let's see what happens. Definitely has me listed as a B driver here. They should have this grid transparent so I can see my car. As you can see, it still says B driver on the right there. But as you can see, I got my first A rating, so super excited about that. And I can't wait till next week when I can try another track and do the same thing. Thanks all.